at work, you're replaceable, but at home, you're not. We're so used to both people working that you don't think there's another option. In nursery, then parents have even said to me, well, that's the best place for them. They're better qualified than I am. I'm like, no, there's no one better qualified than the mother or the father.
Hi, I'm Nicole, the host of Squiggly Motherhood, and today I'm so excited for our guest. We have Becca, who has transitioned from working full-time, Monday to Friday, to now being a stay-at-home mum looking after her two boys. Today in this episode, we're going to be talking about societal expectations to go back to work, the language and the discourse that we use around children, privilege, and also what ambition looks like when you're a mother and you're choosing to be work inside the house. So welcome, Becca. How are you today?
Thank you. Very well, thank you. It's good to be here.
Good. Are you excited for the conversation?
I am. A little bit nervous, but very excited too.
Good. Let's dive straight in. So just give us a little bit of a feel. What did your life look like before you had children? What kind of career did you have? Did you call it a career? And I guess, did you go to university as well?
Yep. So I went to Warwick University, which is where I met my husband. And I definitely call it a career. For just under a decade, I worked in the charity sector. So I had 3 main jobs in that time. Started out in community fundraising, supporting people that were fundraising for the children's charity that I worked for. So that was helping them put on events in their communities or in their workplaces. And then as my career progressed, I moved more into event management and volunteer management. So recruiting volunteers, training volunteers, running information events around the country for our volunteers. I loved it. It was great fun.
So what made you go, no, I don't want to return to that after you had your children, and actually you wanted to be a stay-at-home mum? Did you always know like that was the path that you wanted to choose, or did you kind of end up in that situation?
Yeah, so for my husband and I, we talked about it. We always knew this was the route that we wanted to go down. So both of us had mums who were at home with us, and we saw the huge benefits to that. So for us, it was about waiting for a time where I felt happy to press pause or maybe stop on my career for us to start a family. So yeah, we were very aligned on that, which, so even decisions leading up to having a family when we bought our house, we made sure to think about, okay, could we afford this house on one income? So we were sort of, before we had our family, we were preparing our finances and our life to be able to have a family where I was not working.
Okay, so you had both your mums kind of modeled that to you. So you had a framework as to what that looked like.
Yeah.
I guess, how much did that impact or not impact your decision? Because for me, for example, my mum worked, but she worked part-time. But I don't have a concept of what being at home full-time with the kids look like. I don't know what that, like the realities of that are. So I guess, how much did seeing that play into your decision making?
Yeah, hugely for both of us, my husband and I, because I think both of our mums were very active in the community, running play groups, involved in the local church. So they had very rich lives, very sociable lives. So I think we saw that, and I saw that and thought, I could do that. This being at home doesn't mean being at home. That's sort of it doesn't actually...
You're just in the house all day.
Yeah, you're just in the house. I don't go out. Actually, I'm barely at home. We're out and about at different things in the community, seeing people. So I think, seeing that modelled, and how our mums talk about it now as well, and at the time, but now I think as adults, they talk about how much they loved that season and how much they were grateful for it and how much joy and challenges, but the joy that it brought them. So that really helped. And then for me personally, my dad, he was a GP, a very good job, but the way he talked about my mum to me kind of stays with me to this day, in that he would say that your mum's doing the most important job in the world. And so that's that sort of confidence and value that he put on it has stayed with me and very much gives me the confidence to do this role kind of proudly.
Okay. There's a couple of questions there. So both mums kind of talk about it, and I know I don't want you to speak too much for them, but I guess, do they ever talk about the negative impacts that has had on being a stay-at-home mum? I don't know, is there kind of a balanced view there that you're able to kind of take on board to kind of make an informed decision?
I think they talked about making sure you had stuff outside of the children, which I think is really important. If you are a stay-at-home mum, I think things like volunteering, which, you know, was my career, but also I'm now very passionate about as a volunteer, and how much fulfilment that can bring you. If you're not in paid work, it's sort of that fulfilment and flexibility around family life. And I think they both, as I do, had husbands that really supported it. So I think that does make a difference. So as a family unit, it was a choice that they were all very much on board with. So, and Jeff's mum, she continued to do a bit of private tutoring. So kind of, and my mum went back to nursing when we'd grown up. So it's not like their career stopped forever. They've gone on and done other things or picked up where they left off. So I've seen that and know that it's not, this is the end. This is just a season where I'm taking a step back from paid work to focus on our family.
Because I think, I mean, for me, that would be the fear would be I'm making this decision and it feels really permanent. Whereas actually, as you said, it's a season. But I think a lot of the time when we talk about motherhood and parenting, we very rarely use that word. It's a season that we're in. You know, at the moment we're co-sleeping. It's a season. At the moment, you know, sleep is really rubbish. It's a season. I'm not sure whether that phrase is used very often. It feels like everything feels permanent and set in stone, and there's no there's no wiggle.
Yes, yeah.
But we're all here for the wiggle.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And I think it's worth acknowledging that some careers are easier to pause and re-enter than others. So that I think that has a bearing when you're making this decision. So I think it's being comfortable if you do choose to stop paid work, that it might look different afterwards.
Yes.
You obviously won't, it's unlikely you'll go in at the same level. So it's things like taking those factors into consideration when making that choice.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And then I guess as we kind of move on a little bit to kind of the societal expectations, I think there's a lot of encouragement and support for women specifically to go back into work, whether that's like 9 months or at the 12-month mark. You've not done that. And you've very much gone against the grain, against what I would say is like the norm.
Yeah.
Do you feel rebellious? Does that feel like empowering that you've chosen not to do that?
I love the word rebellious, because anyone that knows me at school, I was very goody two shoes, but I'm going to own that label now as rebellious, because it does feel, it is very countercultural, very radical. I find it sort of crazy that we live in a society where that is the case, though, that looking after your own children is, countercultural, is not the norm.
I agree.
And actually I am in the minority. Whereas, and that has changed, you know, you think a generation or two ago, that would have been completely different. So I think there's a myth that if you're at home, you're not a feminist as well. And I think actually feminism I see it as about choice. And so actually I feel empowered that I've been able to make this choice to do what's right for me and my family in this season. And my passion, I suppose, is that I want more people to see it as a valid choice and to do it if they're, you know, to have the confidence to try it.
I mean, outside of it being modeled to you and you having a framework, what is it that's giving you that confidence to do it? Because I mean, if I talk about myself, you know, me and my husband, we've had conversations around, should I give up my job and lean into motherhood right now? And again, I talk about it very much being a season, but I don't know if I have that like confidence to be like, okay, so I'm doing this. Like we're doing this as a family.
Yeah.
Especially with like that societal expectation where it's, you know, go out as a woman, earn your own money, have your career, be ambitious, progress up the career ladder, have something for yourself.
Yeah.
How do you like make that step?
Yeah.
Because it feels like a big one right now in the society that we're in.
Yeah.
And where 2 incomes are needed sometimes for the household to run.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of my confidence came, so it was something we'd already planned for, as I said, but when my my mother-in-law, knew that that I was going to give up work when we had my first son. She gave me a newsletter of an organisation called Mothers at Home Matter, which is a not-for-profit organisation completely run by volunteers. And the aim of that organisation is to support mothers who have made the choice to be at home and to campaign government policies to be more inclusive of the choice to be at home,
right.
to promote the fact that it's a good choice, that it's good for children, it can be good for mothers. So trying to make it more awareness about it in society. And so when she gave me that newsletter, that was very affirming for me, because everything I already believed, there was research and studies and other people, this whole community of people, of members who agreed with what I knew in my gut. So I've got more and more involved with them, and a lot of my volunteering is with them, and I get a lot of fulfilment from that. And for me, the bit that the sort of fire in my belly is the support side.
Yeah.
So I'm very passionate about bringing people together who have made this choice so they don't feel alone, because it can feel very isolating. I'm very fortunate. I've got quite a few friends locally who have made the same choice. So I've got people to meet up with. So when your baby turns 1 and a lot of people go back to work, you might have done NCT, you might have another group of friends, but that can all but disappear.
Yeah.
And people are suddenly left very alone. And it's really hard day in, day out with a baby. So something I have been involved with at Mothers at Home Matter is helping set up support groups around the country. If there's someone who has chosen to be a stay-at-home mum and wants to find other stay-at-home mums, I help them to do that, to connect with other mums, just to meet like-minded people, to know you're not alone, to have someone to go to the playgroup with.
Yeah.
And yeah, because motherhood's not meant to be walked alone, and we need that support. In every season of motherhood, in every age of your child. It's not just the baby, season, it's throughout. We need that support network.
I totally agree. It's having that village. And we've moved so far away from that, whether it's moving away from our families because we can't afford to live in that area anymore, or feeling quite like everything we do has to be within the family, that we are not seeking friends and community around us. But it sounds like when you received that newsletter, is very much like a tipping point.
Yeah.
Like it was like opening up a new chapter of like, okay, this is how it's done today. And these are the resources that I can go out and get that extra help. So I will add that into the show notes, Mothers at Home Matters. So everyone's able to kind of find that information and see where they can get support. And I guess also educate themselves to a certain extent as to what is available. I think a lot of the times it's not considered as an option. It reminds me of, so both my kids go to a childminder and people are like, oh, I didn't even realize that was even an option, because the default is always nursery.
Yes.
So it's, I just think as women, as mothers, it's just so important that we are aware of the choices that are available to us.
Yeah.
But what I think is challenging right now is a lot of the time you don't know what you want until you've had the kids.
Yes. Yeah.
So then it's almost like you're like, oh, well, I've already got this massive house that requires 2 incomes.
Yes.
And I don't know how you know that before. Like, I don't know how you would have that clarity before you have children.
I think it's hard. And I think until a lot of people have said to me, like friends have said, until their baby was here and they look at them and think, there's no way I can leave this child. And then not until they might have planned to go back to work. I know people that have planned to go back to work, set up a nursery space, gone to drop off their baby at nursery and been like, I can't do this.
Oh, really?
And have made a U-turn and taken time off for longer, and not everyone is important to acknowledge that not everyone is able to make that choice, because it's a sad reality that our society is built on 2 incomes for a house, 2 incomes to the cost of living is so high. So what Mothers at Home Matter campaign for is we want the government to help parents make the right choice for their families. So rather than the narrative being very much when your child is 9 months, you go back to work, you put them in a nursery, and that's where the subsidies go. That's where the childcare financial help comes into play. Why can't the money follow the child and the parent choose where that money is best spent? Is that money best spent with a parent at home, or a grandparent at home, or a childminder, or a nursery? Whereas at the moment, it's only used if you go down the nursery route. And so that doesn't feel like a choice, like a good, there are options. There should be options. It doesn't feel like there are for most families. And that's not right. And I think that lies with government policies.
And it's crazy that that's like radical. Like when you actually sit there and deep it, it's insane that that is like a radical thing to be thinking. And even my husband said to me the other day, he found like a social media post and it was like, it's crazy that we will work, a lot of us full time, Monday to Friday, to literally put our children, like to pay for childcare for someone else to do it.
Yeah. Why is that in the government's eyes better than the parent looking after them? Why is it okay to pay someone else to look after your children? Because if you go back to work and someone looks after your children, that's 2 incomes. So the government they're looking at it from a financial perspective. They're not looking at what's best for the family. They don't seem to have they haven't looked at any of the research that shows what's best for children. No one seems to ask in these conversations, but what does the child want? Does that 9-month-old really want to be separated from the mother that young? Does the mother want to be separated from the 9-month-old that young? Those questions aren't asked. And that's where at Mothers Don't Matter, we're like, we want to, write to your MPs and say, where's the evidence? Show us the evidence, because there isn't any evidence. That's the reality. That it is beneficial for under 3s to be in long hours away from the parent. And yet all our policies are pushing for that. And that's what is worrying in our society, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. And I guess for context here, I do work. I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I work 4 days a week, Monday to Thursday. And that was a decision that my husband and myself made. I didn't want to work 5 days a week. And actually, I absolutely love being 4 days. And we are in a position where we are privileged that we are able to afford that. So yeah, I want to give like another side that although I do agree with a lot of your saying, I'm not actually someone who falls into that bucket of being at home. And just to reiterate, like we want choice.
Yes.
Like that's what it's about. So if you're happy and fine working 5 days a week, then great.
Yeah.
Like that's your jam, lean into that. But if you're somebody who's like, actually, I wish I had the opportunity to be at home with my children longer, whether that was 18 months, whatever that looks like for you, that the society isn't structured to enable that for parents.
Yeah.
And I would go as far as say is that the language that we use around our children as well.
Yes, definitely.
Doesn't help to support that kind of being at home and nurturing our kids. And we've lost a lot of the knowledge around what's important developmentally for our children as well.
Yes. And the confidence. That's what I see. And that's what
I agree.
Makes me sad, because I think because it's become so normal to put your babies, your children in nursery, then parents have even said to people, that's the best place for them. They're better qualified than I am. I'm like, no, there's no one better qualified than the mother or the father. Like, you know your child best. You know what's best for them. So if you know some babies do fine in nursery and some don't, but the mother and the father should be the one to choose that, not what a government policy says. It should be down to you as a parent, and to have the confidence that you have everything that you need, which is love, security, that just them knowing that they're your world, that is more important than some of the, as they get old, like the academic milestones that they try and, it's actually about their foundation and how they feel and how they're valued as a human that's going to go into their adulthood. And so I want to see more mothers having the confidence that they have what it takes.
Super quick interruption. If you are enjoying this episode and you think someone would benefit from it, please share with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe. Now back to the episode. So I guess I'm curious, why do you think parents of today, I've got my own thoughts, which I will share. Why do you think parents of today struggle with the confidence, or some, I'll make a blanket statement, some struggle with confidence with parenting?
I think, it's hard. Parenting's really hard, especially if you don't have that, as with Village, we said earlier. And I think we most of us don't live really close to family anymore. So I think we need to sort of shift how we view our friendships. So even the friends I have who are other stay-at-home parents, we look after each other's children, so someone can go to the hairdresser. So we've created that village for ourselves.
And just for context, you're not close to your, like, location-wise, you don't have family on either side that are 10 minutes away.
No, both, an hour or 45 minutes. So they're not on the doorstep. So actually the people in your actual village or town, they're more helpful to you than parents that are an hour away, right? So I think it's about being proactive in forming those friendships and being confident enough to ask for help as well, and to offer it and to receive it. And I think if we're helping each other more as mothers, that will give us the confidence. And knowing you're not alone, that you're all struggling. For us at the moment, it's sibling squabbles. I've got a 6 and a 3-year-old. There's quite a lot of that. So when I talk to other mothers and they are sharing their experiences, okay, it's not me. It's not my mothering. It's the age, it's the stage, it's normal. How can we support each other, share what we've learned together? So I think the confidence has been lost maybe because we're not having those friendships, which is why that support, making sure people feel supported in motherhood, is so important. And I think when you just look at what society is directing you to, and what, going back to the government policies, if they're all directing you to put your child in nursery, then of course you're subliminally going to think, well, that must be what I should do. It's quite hard to go against what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, it's hard to be a rebel like you.
It is. Who knew? My family will find that hilarious. It is. And I think, and for me, I think having the family support, so from both Jeff and I's parents, but also from my husband, for him, like that's an inner confidence. And then just surrounding myself with and finding friends who are the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Then that does just all boost your confidence. And for me, being part of an organisation like Mothers at Home Matter, again, gives me the studies and the research to help me see, okay, what I'm doing is right for our family.
Yes.
And I'm really grateful that we've been able to do it. And I just want the choice to be more readily available. I want mothers to consider it before their baby's here, if possible, and the only way they're going to do that is if we talk about it more, right? So I think it's great that we're having this conversation.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. And I guess to give my thoughts on the confidence piece, I think that there's so much information out there in terms of how you parent. Do you discipline? Do you not discipline? Are you permissive? Do you do gentle parenting? Like, there's so many terms and phrases and approaches that I think as parents we've lost to trust our instincts and our gut.
Yes, definitely.
I've heard mothers say to me, I feel like I should co-sleep, but what about X? What about, if they never want to leave the bed? What if this? What if that? And I'm like, well, what does your instinct say? If your gut is saying that, listen to it.
Yeah.
But if we constantly kind of push down our instincts and what feels natural for us, we lose that ability to really trust our gut.
Yeah.
And to trust that inner voice that's saying, this doesn't feel right, or I want to lean into this. Like, it is, it feels to me like a habit and something that you have to kind of build on to be able to be really clear on what your gut and instinct is saying. I think that for me feels like a big piece that's lost when it comes to that confidence. And then also what you said around the friendships. Yeah. And you're right. I sent out a message to some family and friends recently being like, I want to do life with you. Like, you are my chosen people. Yeah. We are close. We live close to each other. How can we make it work that we experience life together? Not we meet up sporadically throughout the year. Yeah. And our kids know each other and there's a deep intimacy. But I think you have to kind of just put yourself out there be like, this is what I want, guys. Is anyone else feeling it?
It's like dating. I feel like dating. I've talked about friends that when you meet, and I've met, some friends I met one mum just at a play group and we instantly connected. We had a lot in common. She was another stay-at-home mum, and and it felt like, do you want to exchange numbers? It feels like a bit awkward.
Like that. You're like, but
then you almost move it out of the play group and into each other's lives. And then doing life together. And I think that's where and I acknowledge that. So I'm someone who is an extrovert. I enjoy people's company. I'm sociable. And so I think that has made my motherhood experience, it's been very natural for me because I see being a stay-at-home mum as a very sociable role. We're out a lot. We're seeing people. I think if you are more introvert, I can imagine that being more of a challenge to put yourself out there.
100%.
To meet those people. But as long as, and it's not about quantity, it's just if you have a few friends that, you're doing life with and you're supporting each other, you see in the week that adult conversation, which you definitely, you need whatever stage of life you are, but with small children, you yearn for that sort of adult conversation that just lifts you and gives you the confidence. It fills your cup ready for the next tantrum or, whatever's coming your way.
Whatever chaos is the
right
coming.
word. Chaos. Yeah.
Someone, oh gosh, what's the phrase that someone said to me? It's a joyful chaos. Is that what it is?
That is a perfect way of how I describe my life. With 2 children, I think joyful chaos is.
Yeah. So I guess I'm interested to know about, well, there's 2 things actually, which I don't think we've touched on so far, is like, what is the hard? I think we've spoken about a lot about like making that move and you being very comfortable in that, but what's the hardship in doing that? In
terms of things that I've struggled with.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to kind of get that perspective.
I think there's that, not that that thing where you go to a dinner party and people ask, what do you do? I don't go to many dinner parties, but things like a wedding or something. Sometimes when I meet a new group of people or we go to a wedding where we don't know many people, I've had to learn again to grow that confidence in myself in being asked, because so much of that first question is about your job.
Yes.
And there's like accounts I follow online. There's someone she calls it the power pause, about how to sort of reframe your career break as something very positive in which you grow in it and to not be kind of embarrassed about it. So, and she talks about how saying, if someone asks you, what you do, you can just say, well, right now I get to be at home with my kids, rather than saying a bit like that's, this isn't forever. This is what I'm doing right now, and owning it and not being embarrassed. I'd never say, and I'd never want anyone to say, oh, I'm just a mum. Because to me, I'm like, no, and that we're more than just a mum, and there's other things to us, like there's other hobbies and interests, and so I've had to learn that you're not defined by your job, and that it's okay to, you're worth talking to. Yeah. You're not someone that's like, oh, I'm going to switch off because you've got nothing interesting to say.
Yeah.
And I think there is that, especially in the baby phase. I think it's so all encompassing. It's hard to have any other interests outside of that. Whereas I think obviously my children are a bit older now, one's at school, one's at preschool, a couple of mornings a week. So there is more time for me. So it's growing those things and then being like, I have stuff to say. I'm interesting to talk to. But that was hard at first. That is something that's grown over the years, I'd say. And I still sometimes get a bit of nerves when I meet someone new, like, oh, like I'm going to have to talk about the fact I don't work, because it is so radical.
Yeah.
Not normal.
Yeah. Well, you're the first person I've met who is a stay-at-home mum. Like, I know women who have been at home for a period of time because they've been made redundant, but actually like choosing it. You are my first. So lucky you. Yeah. I totally relate to that feeling of being like, oh, well, I'm just like on maternity leave, and just feel like I have nothing interesting to say.
Yeah.
It is that. And then like feeling quite small in the conversation, or feeling like I'm only talking about the kids and this is boring, and you're not going to find that interesting if you don't have children.
Yes. Yeah.
But actually what I've learned is that when I do lean into it, people are super interested.
Yeah.
Obviously some people aren't, and fair. Yeah. I'm not interested in what everyone else has to say either. But there are a good bunch of people who are like, oh, you went to see BB's? What was that like?
Yeah.
Oh, this. And they're genuinely interested and intrigued in your life, but it's in your head where you think, oh, this is boring.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is maybe society kind of just being like, oh, well, it's weird. You're bigged up as a mum when it's like Mother's Day on the run up.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's like just mums.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah. And I think what I've learned from talking to other mums is how much of our identity is wrapped up in paid work, and actually to try try
this is me.
Yeah.
Like, can I put all the hands up? This is me. And it has been, I've gone through a legit crisis at work, being like, what does this mean? My whole identity is with work. But then I'm like a mum and my values feel so torn, but who am I if I don't have work?
Yes. And I hear that a lot. And I've journeyed with like one friend who has just handed a notice in after working for this company for a long time. She's got 2 small children and she's trying out being at home. And I've sort of journeyed that with her a bit because it is a scary, and a lot of the scariness is around identity, like who am I without my job title? But I think I try and encourage people that our identity, and mine shouldn't just be the children, because they're going to grow up and move away.
100%.
So our identity should always be multifaceted, that we should try and make sure we're not just defined by one thing, because that thing can be taken away. Like a job, you could be very redundant. People that come up to retirement that have only ever focused on work, they must find that like a bit of an identity crisis. Like, who am I without my long spanning career? And so I think it makes you think about what else there is to you and what else you'd like to do with your time. And now actually, we only have one life. You want to grow in different ways and find things that you enjoy. And you don't want, life to just be about work, because at work, you're replaceable, but at home, you're not. That is what I come back to. Is that okay to say?
Yeah, it is. And you
don't want to edit that out?
No, I won't edit that out. Because it's facts and it's true.
Yeah.
And I have seen it. You know what I mean? With people's companies and stuff like that, being made redundant on the whim. Being like told on that day, okay, today is your last day.
And that's it.
and bye. Good luck with everything. And, see you later kind of thing. But you're right. With being a parent, it's just so not that.
Yeah. And you're never going to regret the time you spend with your children.
Yes, I agree. I guess, and again, I'm going to add in like a nuance. So with everything with parenting, it's never black and white.
Mm-hmm.
There's always I feel like we live so much in the grey.
Yeah.
So I also want to add in that if this is not an option for you for whatever reason, don't feel guilty.
Yes, definitely.
This is not a guilt trip. This is not for you to sit there and be like, I wish I could do this, but oh my gosh, they're in childcare and I feel so bad and I feel so guilty. It's absolutely not that. There's so many ways that you can bond and connect with your children outside of work.
And I know a lot of people that do. It's almost not about whether you work or not. It's your intentions, how you talk about your children. The mums I'm close to, a lot of them do work. It's not that they're all not, there's a group of us that don't, but there's also, especially now the kids are getting older, some people are going back to paid employment. And it's never about, do you have a paycheck or not? It's how you view your children, how you talk about your children. That to me is more important, the values, than if someone works or not. And so I think you can, and what I would like to see is more flexible jobs.
Yeah.
Because people I've seen who do have jobs that means they're able to be at the school drop off and pick up. And I think that's so good that they've found that balance. But I imagine that some sectors, that's just not possible.
Yeah, I agree. And now that I feel like, especially in London, there's been such a push to go back into the office.
Yeah, which is
and
so
it's
hard.
It's
so short-sighted.
It's so short-sighted. And to be honest with you, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's as a society, we just don't value our own time.
Yes.
And whether that's having kids, whether you've got a family of kids or not, but just doing what you want to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When you're in, when I go into the office, which I do, I'm starting to go in a bit more frequently, sometimes I don't get home until 7:30. If I'm there my full day, and you just think, well, now the day's done.
Yeah.
And then if I am in the office and I want to get back for dinner, I'm then leaving at 4:30 to try to do the juggle to get back.
Yeah.
So then my work, I'm not able to have as a productive a day.
Yeah.
It feels like you have to choose and that you don't have a choice and that you can't have it all. And you have to kind of accept that.
Yeah.
And I just want to throw that in the bin. I think it's nonsense. I do.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think for me, as I said, like I loved my job and I'm someone that gives 100%. So when I had my first, I couldn't see how I could split. We're all different, right? So some people can find that balance. But for me, I just knew I wanted to be all in with this motherhood crazy journey and not try and my job feels very like the me before children. And I just couldn't sort of marry that up in my head how I was going to make that work. Especially as that was before kind of COVID, 5 days a week in London. It just, so it just feels very like two different paths, but we're all different. And I think it's, what every mother's different, every child's different. So there just should be more choice.
Yeah.
And acknowledging that you can't have it all at the same time and that there's time and a place to press pause on stuff or focus on this. And what you're saying about prioritizing our own well-being and doing what we want to do with our time, that's so undervalued in our society. Even just stopping and filling your own cup, especially as parents, but even if you don't have children, just making sure that you are, you're able to exercise and do things that make you happy and fill you with joy. That might be going for a walk or reading a book or watching TV, and not feeling guilty about that. And that's something I've had to learn, even with my youngest going to preschool. It's only 2 mornings, so I'm like, but there's some people are like, oh, what are you doing all that time? And then you suddenly think, oh, do people think I'm just sitting on the sofa doing nothing? I'm like, no, but if I do a bit of that, that's actually okay.
Yeah.
Because then I'm better recharged for when the children do come home. But we don't talk about that enough, I think. And we expect everyone, we're in a culture of busy. But we're all going to burn out, and it's not actually good for you, for your health, right?
100% agree. There is something to be said about rest.
Yes.
About taking a minute to pause and not to constantly feel like you're chasing.
Yeah.
And we do not appreciate that enough, as we feel like we must always be doing something. There's always going to be laundry. There's always going to be something like cooking to be done. There's always going to be something you could be doing.
Yeah.
But actually, as you said, like recharging your batteries and doing that. And I think actually quite a nice segue into what I was going to ask you next. What you said around like prioritizing your well-being and your mental health and having hobbies and stuff like that. I think you can do that, but it does rely quite heavily on having a partner that's very supportive, that allows you to do that. Like I'm even right here, right now, like recording.
Yeah.
I can only do this because my husband has taken the kids and we have agreed on how I'm going to like do this podcast.
Yeah.
So I guess talking about partnerships, can you touch on how that works with your husband, Jeff?
Yeah.
What does that partnership and teamwork look like? Because I can imagine, we going into work, there's definitely that like juggle with both me and my husband. But for you, I can imagine there has to have been a good level of intentionality to get to like what your family unit looks like.
And we did talk a lot about it. For us, the way I describe our family, our household, is that we're an interdependent household. So by me not working and by me focusing on looking after the children, that allows Jeff to go out to work and be the sole earner. And by him being the sole earner, it allows me to be at home with our children. So we see it very much as an interdependency.
I love that.
A team, and even before the kids, throughout our marriage, money has been our money. It's not his pot, my pot. And that's even more important now. Obviously, I'm not earning, that I don't feel like I'm spending his money or he doesn't give me an allowance. It's just, this is our money to spend. And that takes a lot of, we talk a lot about, we check in with each other. We did that even before the kids, even on chores, just running a household when you're both working, making sure that you feel that it's fair, that it's equal, that no resentment can get in. Because I think there's something that we find about the fact I'm at home, that the simplicity of the division in tasks in that, because I'm not juggling a job as well, there are things I can focus on that frees Jeff up. And then, but that he still does his fair share of chores when he's not working. But it feels like we have to keep checking in, because every season's different. When you have one child, you need to check in. And then if a second child comes along, check ins, because things change all the time. So I think we check in a lot and make sure that we're feeling like happy with how things are. And we're very supportive of each other's jobs. He speaks like my dad did. I love to hear him talking about what I do in a very proud way. And when he has friends that have kids who are weighing up what they might do in terms of childcare, he is the first to be like, well, have you thought about, the mum staying at home? Like, have you considered that? Because some people have never considered it. And so he's as much an advocate as I am. So I'm very grateful for that, because I've met a fair few mums at playgroups and things where they might have been made redundant and so are at home because of that, but are actually really loving it and really leaning into that season. And there's pressure from the husband to go back to work. And I sort of gently say, well, just, has he thought about the fact that if you go back to work, there'll be money needed to pay for childcare? There's that juggle. You won't be around to do so much in the house. I think sometimes we're so used to both people working that you don't think there's another option.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So you mentioned like your finances and it very much feeling like your money or our money, not yours, all my money. It's ours. It's a combined pot. How did you get there to thinking that? So I think we're very much, or at least I'll speak for myself, I was very much brought up to be, you have your own money. You're not reliant on a man. You have financial security. If anything happened, you're good by yourself. So I guess like for me to transition into, I mean, we do a little bit of like, it is our money, but we equally have our own bank accounts, our own savings, our own investments, our own pensions, and they all come together to do whatever we want to achieve. But like, how did you transition that it's being our, when I feel like there's a lot of be a boss babe, be independent narrative that's happening?
I think probably, again, my parents modelled it. So my mum wasn't earning for many years when she was at home with us. So I saw how that worked for them. And because even before I stopped working, we viewed money like that. So our whole marriage, like 12 years of marriage, has been based on a shared money. So I think it's just been quite normal for us, I think.
Okay.
We check in, but it feels something that for us as a married couple, that is, everything's together and it's shared. I think it's just been how we've always done things.
Okay. So
but I can appreciate maybe that's not common.
Well, I don't know.
It'd be interesting to know.
I mean, for me, I'm like, even, let me try to have a think. I think even when in the early days of our marriage, I was still like my money. But now I think since having kids, or maybe even a bit before that, it has been a bit more like, okay, so how are we doing things? And that shift has happened, but it wasn't immediate. And we've been together for years.
I think it's also how you view being dependent on someone else. So I don't see that as a negative thing.
Oh, okay. So that's probably what it is. Whereas I'm like, don't want to be dependent on anybody.
So I think maybe I've not had, again, that sort of, for us, it's like a partnership, a team, the interdependent thing. I guess that's just how we've always operated. So it's not something that worries me.
But I guess also Jeff has set you up for success. In the way that, correct me if I'm wrong, you have your own pension.
Yes.
I don't know if you have your own savings or investments, but you have your own like money pot kind of thing. So he has, or you guys have agreed on that you will be enabled to have a level of financial independence as well.
And it's and so I had pensions from the 3 different charity jobs I had, so I combined those, and then he's supported me in setting up a private pension that he pays into to give me that assurance for the future. And again, that's all been done together, but it's nice to, he's been very supportive. And it helps it. His dad is in finance, so he's very finance is something he's very literate about. And again, I think that's a privilege, right? Financial literacy feels like it's really complicated, even mortgages, pensions. I'm not nowhere near, I don't know I'm not an expert by any means. So I feel like I'm grateful that he's known how to look after us financially, and I trust what he's kind of set up for us.
Okay. And yeah, I agree. It's a complete privilege to understand finances, personal finance, 100%. But I love the fact that, and I don't know whether it was his idea, your idea, or combined, but I guess it doesn't even really matter, but that you have your own pension and that it just gives you that sense of security. But it's also, even if nothing happened, he's advocating and supporting you.
Yeah.
And even with me being kind of 4 days a week, my pension is affected. And someone actually, a friend of mine asked, so like, what have you and your husband agreed to do with your pension? Because you're taking time out for the family, but you're financially impacted.
Yes.
So what have you guys agreed? And I think that's the sort of conversation that we really want to get women thinking about. If you're working, whatever it is, if you're not working full time, how is your pension going to be like bumped?
Yeah.
What needs, is it going to be bumped? Does it need to be bumped?
Yeah.
What do we want to do to bump it?
Yeah.
Just even if it's a case of, okay, you agree that right now we've had a conversation and right now we can't increase your pension contributions, fine.
But you've had the conversation.
Exactly. You've had the conversation.
Yeah.
And that shift does need to happen for couples to start be thinking about that, because and even taking time out when you have children as well. Women tend to be massively impacted through taking time out of work, being carers and having maternity leave. They talk, I can't remember what the word is now. I think it's like the maternity tax. Basically, it's a tax on having children.
The motherhood penalties.
That's it. There we go. The motherhood penalty. Yeah. It's real.
Yeah. And it's hard because you do need to think about your financial security. And I guess I would feel sad if that's the reason people don't take the step. And I understand wholly why. But if people want to be able to be there for their children in the early years and they're not able to because of that financial security, that's where I feel like society, the government policies are letting women down. Because why is it that money's available to pay for your children to be looked after by someone else, but it's not available to help those women that want to look after the children themselves? So that's where, again, I feel that choice is being chipped away.
Yeah. I mean, I think because I'm on, now this is where we probably disagree.
Here we go. Buckle up.
Because I'm on the boat where, because again, like my parents, and I don't think this is a bad thing at all. I don't want to come across like shady. It's not, I don't view it as a bad thing. But my parents very much raised me to be like very not reliant on a man, like to be very financially secure. I can imagine if you are lower paid, that actually to take that leap is quite hard. When you're like, oh, but if things were to end in 2 years' time, like how would I support my family? Now I'm a management consultant. My salary is good. I wouldn't feel like I couldn't do it by myself. But if I was on a significantly lower pay, I'd be like, oh, this doesn't feel wise.
Yeah.
Especially then if I didn't have a husband who was like giving me supporting me with investments, with savings, with pensions. Yeah. It feels that makes me feel uncomfortable just thinking about it.
Yeah, but that's where I think I just think it falls back to the government to make it more easily viable as an option, because they're spending billions of taxpayers' money on childcare subsidies, but why can't that money be spread out more so families can make a choice? That's what I'd want to see.
And I think one thing that we haven't touched on is the why do you think it's important to be at home in those early years? That's probably a big one.
Yeah. Where do I start?
Let me get out my list.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of research to suggest that in the first 3 years are crucial in terms of brain development. So 80% of a child's brain is developed in the first 3 years. So you have to ask yourself, who do you want to be shaping your child's brain? Where are your children going to be in those 3 years? And we all know that children are like sponges, right? Like they soak up who they're with. And especially in the first year, and 0 to 3 is what they need is a consistent, loving caregiver. So that could be the mum, that could be the dad, that could be a grandparent, that could be a childminder, but it's the consistency. And if you can get that in a nursery, great, but that's you can't probably rely on that in terms of it's staffed, right? So it's changeover of staff. And so what a baby needs love, not education. And that's where the government talks about early years education for preschool ages, 0 to 3. That, especially 0, 1, 2, that they don't need to be educated. They just need that foundation that they are loved, they are valued, they are secure, they're accepted. Because the research suggests how all those feelings and validation in the brain in those early years are going to have a huge impact on how you view yourself and your identity and your confidence as an adult. There's research that suggests that for babies that are in long hours of external childcare, the increase in the stress hormone cortisol has a negative impact on brain development. So this is long hours of, like, if you're in a room of screaming babies, which isn't how nursery is every day. That's not what I'm saying, but your babies aren't meant to deal with stress. They're not designed to deal with stress. In the home environment, if it's just usually the mother, the baby, maybe a sibling, maybe a dad, maybe a grandparent, but it's a calmer environment. So a high-paced, loud, even if they're not screaming with sadness, screaming with joy, that sort of noise, all that stimulation can cause a lot of stress for babies. Some babies might deal with that fine. Others will find that very stressful, and that can impact how they go into future relationships in terms of their stress hormone, how that reacts to stressful situations, whether they deal well with stress, whether they don't deal well with stress. So there is evidence like that is worth looking at. There's a whole research page on Mothers at Home Matter website, which would be great if we could link to, because I think often we do all this research about pregnancy and we do all this research about birth and maybe breastfeeding or how we want to feed our baby, but we don't look beyond that and like what is actually best for a child in those first few years. And this is where it makes me cross that the government haven't looked at this research, that they're suggesting something that is not based. There's no evidence that it's beneficial for a 9-month-old to be in childcare, and yet that's what they're pushing.
And then I guess, what about socializing? Like, because kids need to socialize, right?
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, because that is a myth that I hear all the time. And it is a myth in that babies need to go to nursery to learn social skills.
Yeah.
The evidence shows that social skills are learned from children. Children learn social skills from adults, not other children. If you watch 2 babies play, if you watch 2 1-year-olds play, if you watch 2 2-year-olds play, they do something called parallel play, where they play next to each other. They don't really play together till 3, 4 upwards. So in those early years, it is great for them to be surrounded by the children, but with the mother. So there's something called like the star diagram, where you might, and I've seen this play out with my own children and other children, where you might go to a play group and your child might crawl or wander off to one point of the star, and then they come back to the centre where you are, and they get their assurance from you and a cuddle, and then they're like, right, they might go and explore over here, maybe poke another baby or play with a toy, and then come back to the mother. And they keep doing that. And what's interesting is different children have a different size of star. So for my 2 children, the star was always quite small. They wouldn't go too far and they'd come back. Others go really far and then come back. It doesn't matter how far or not far the child goes. The importance is they're coming back to the centre and you're their centre. Mothers help babies and children emotionally regulate. Babies aren't able to do that. But holding a baby, the skin to skin, all of that is helping a child to cope with the stresses of life. And so if they're separated too soon from their mother, they don't have that that emotional regulation. They don't have that assurance, that love, that acceptance. You know, there's the thing that if like a child hurts themselves, the mum's kiss will make it better. Like there's studies to suggest that there is some truth in that, because the mother's voice, the mother's touch helps to reduce those pain receptors. Like there's actually, scientific research that shows that the mother, I mean, the baby grew, most of the time, the baby grew inside the mother, right? And that link, that connection is, I think we've lost the importance of that in society. We think anyone can be the mother, but there's something very important about the mother being the one to look after children, if she is able to and if she wants to. I think I was quite naive with my first son. I thought everyone should do this, everyone should be at home, like this is what's right for everyone. I've definitely like grown in realizing that actually for my mental well-being would have been affected if I'd tried to go back to work. I know that. But for some mothers, their mental well-being is improves by having that space and going to work. So that's where there's no one size that fits all. There needs to be choices, because everyone's different. Every child is different. But I think I would just like to see a society where we value that mother-child bond and not try and separate it younger and younger, and to do our research, to read up on, you know, what impacts could this have. There's an American psychoanalyst called Erica Commissar who is pretty controversial. I don't agree with everything she says, but she often will say things that other people are fearful to say.
Yeah.
And she talks about something, she's coined a phrase, the inconvenient truth. And she talks about the fact that, the inconvenient truth is a lot of babies don't do well in childcare. But as a society, we are structured in a way that we are pushing mothers back to work so babies have to go to childcare. And almost we're not thinking about the long-term impacts of long hours in childcare. And actually, she links a lot of the mental health crisis in teenage. She does a lot of, she's got a book on the first 3 years about prioritizing motherhood in those 3 years, but also she's done a book about the teenage years and how that's another big, that's where the brain develops a lot in those teenage years. That's another really important stage. And so when you see she's kind of correlated a lot of the teenage mental health crisis and anxiety and aggression in boys. She links a lot back to the separation from the mother at too young an age. And so she's done a lot of work on that. And it is interesting to listen to her and to read her stuff, knowing that, she is, I definitely don't agree with everything, but she makes some interesting points that I think we as parents should look into and get some more knowledge on.
Yeah, I agree. And as part of this, like before this episode, I've done a lot, like a good bit of reading up and research and listening to podcasts that she has been on. A lot of the things that say comes to agree with you. A lot of things I agree with what she's saying. A lot of things I don't. And you know, and I think the phrase that she uses is exactly that. It's an uncomfortable truth. And when I was listening to it, boy, oh boy, did I feel uncomfortable. And I was like, I had to really question, like, why do I feel this way? I'm very aware of what the research is and what it says and like the power of being around your kids from 0 to 3 and the socializing and all of that stuff. And the mirroring that kids do when they're like 1 and 2 with other kids. But listening to it, it's uncomfortable. And I had to sit there and think, am I okay with the decision that I made? And I think that, to me, that is what it is. It's having the information and making informed decisions
definitely
for what you want to do as a family unit. And then having those options to support those decisions that you want to make.
100%. Because I think too often I see people just, and I saw it even, you know, when all the NCT babies turned 1 and people thinking about going back to work, and there's this, like you always plan for it because that's what everyone does. But then you get to it and everyone's like, hang on a minute, I have to leave this baby that I've cared for.
But it's the expectation. And even when I was talking to my husband about this episode, it made me think there's a few people that we follow online around, like they paid off their mortgage early. And they say, look, this is so radical because when you sign up to a mortgage, it's 25, 30, 35, 40 years, whatever it is, it's a term. and you stick to it and you do it.
Yeah.
So if you pay off your mortgage in, and again, this is privilege as well and all of that stuff. But if someone said to you, I pay off my mortgage in 5 years, you'd be like,
yeah.
It just feels so,
yeah.
I don't want to use the word unnatural, but like just so out of the norm.
Yes. Yeah.
Putting all like privilege to be able to do that aside, it's just like unusual.
Yes, it is.
And
yeah.
and it's the same kind of thing with like being a stay-at-home mum. It's like that's unusual because it's expected to go back at 12 months. And even with my first, I took, how long did I take off? I think I took like 16 months off or 15. And people were like, oh, that's weird. I got comments like that. And I was like, is it? I took a bit extra.
And if you look at America, and that's where Erica Commissar is, like it's 6 weeks.
Yeah,
and people go back.
And so you're not able to, if you want to breastfeed, if that's a decision and a choice that you would like to do, things like that, they're taken away from you.
Yeah.
And again, moving away from something that doesn't feel instinctual for you. Just moving us along, because when we spoke previously, you spoke about ambition. And I would love just to because you just open up my mind to like what ambition could be like as a stay-at-home mum. My perspective on ambition is very solely based on my career, so my paid job and making money, making more money, progressing up the career ladder, having more developmental opportunities. But you view it really differently.
Yeah, well, it's mainly from our conversation, though. I think I've been reflecting more on it as well about, what is ambition? And I think for me, ambition is being the best you can be at something. So when I was in paid work, I would strive to be the best I could be in my job. And so I was ambitious in that sense. I wasn't ambitious in trying to always get higher and higher up the ladder. That wasn't really my motivation. I think my motivation was to be challenged in my role and to grow in it, but that doesn't necessarily mean progressing up the chain, as it were. And almost when I think back to those days, like working, and even before that, I probably wouldn't have described myself as ambitious. Whereas now, I think I would. Well, I would, because I see it as
360 test.
Yeah. I feel like ambition to me is I've chosen to view motherhood as my job, as my calling. This is my purpose right now, and so I want to be the best I can be at it. So I do a bit like if it was a job, I do a lot of reading and attend webinars. And if there's, I mentioned about sibling squabbles, I've been doing lots of reading about how to help siblings and conflict resolution, how to stay calm as the mum, because I really struggle with not being very triggered by when they're arguing. And so it's not about, when I say about being the best you can be, it's not about being a perfect mum, because there's no way that doesn't exist. But it's about being the best version that I can be, and the best. And I've noticed my own growth in this season. I've still got a long way to go in staying calm, because it is, very easy to. Sometimes Jeff will come home and be like, "Why is everyone shouting at each other?" I'm like, "Well, they started it." Then, or he'll be like, "It's ironic because you're shouting. Stop shouting!" Which I'm sure we can all relate to. So there's definitely more growth needed. But I've already, the tools that some of the reading gives me about staying calm, and sort of the script sometimes, just being like, they're not giving me a hard time, they're having a hard time. Sometimes they just help to calm you, and to sometimes, you feel your blood rising, and it just helps you just sort of calm yourself so you can go in and be that calm presence for them. So I think I've been proud of my own growth, and that I see as ambitious, and I'm excited for what the future holds. I don't know how long I'll be out of paid work. I don't know if I'll go back into something very different, but I'm trying to see that as an exciting thing rather than as a scary thing, which is definitely a choice that you have to make in terms of how you view the future, and maybe a bit of a question mark. But I think, trying to be the best I can be, is probably how I would now look at ambition.
Because my mind is absolutely blown by this. Because when we spoke initially, I was like, you can be ambitious outside of work. I mean, outside of, I know, I guess I'm going to say actors or athletes, but then that is a job.
Yeah.
But I never really thought of ambition being linked to my children.
Yeah.
So that whole concept, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. And I see it's almost like they're my don't know, am I their manager? Sometimes they feel like they're the manager. You know, they're my team, and it's like your household is your company that you're running.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. You are the leaders.
Yeah.
And it's so important that, well, I won't go into it, but like it's so important as leaders that we really show up
Yes.
for our kids.
Yeah.
I can talk about that. Like the idea of you being a leader in your home and what that means.
Yes.
I could talk about that for ages.
Yeah.
But I think that's how we should view ourselves.
Yes.
Well, that's how me and my husband view ourselves in our house. Anyways, that we are leaders.
Yeah.
And so we then have to emulate certain behaviors.
Yes, definitely. And then it's our job to help them grow into the best human beings they can be. And I feel that by not working, I have the privilege of time to do this extra reading, but also to be able to identify. So one of my sons is very emotionally intelligent. The other one needs a bit of help with it. And so we've looked at ways to help him grow that and empathy. And I think that we've been able to do that because I've been able to have that time to take a step back. It's a bit like when you're in a paid job and you go on a training day or a conference and you get some light bulb moments because you're out of the busyness. You take a step back and you reflect, you think, oh yeah, I could do this in a different way. That's how it feels like because I'm at home with them and I'm not out of work. I'm able just to take a step back sometimes and think, okay, well, I'm not just going to be like, that's how he is. I want to help him in that. And how can I help him in that? And a lot of that is a long game. It's a lot. Parenthood is a long game, right?
It's a long game.
And
it's a long game. It's a long game.
Yeah.
And I think it's a slightly off topic, but I think that's something that we don't talk about enough.
Yes.
When there's behaviors that you don't like and that you're seeing that your kid's showing, it's a long game.
Yes. Yeah.
To try to get those behaviors to change, the snatching, the shouting, the kicking, all of that stuff. Yeah, you can pacify it really quickly by saying, oh, well, I'll take away X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll comply, but the behavior won't change.
Yes.
So to get that, to have that true shift, you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
And it takes consistency, it takes time, it takes intentionality. And it's super hard.
Yes.
Like, oh my goodness, it's draining.
And it's hard not to, and I think as maybe as stay-at-home mothers, is also to not see your children as the product of your parenting. How do you know what I mean by that?
No, I know, because you're with them all the time. So you're like, oh, well, if they're there, like slapping their brother, then like, that must be me.
Yes. And that is really hard. And I think if they're out there tantruming, it's not a reflection on you. Like that's just them having a tough time, and that doesn't belittle what the time and energy and effort and everything you've put in. That is a really hard one because I think especially when you don't, because in a paid job you have appraisals, you have feedback, you might get some nice comments or and challenging comments, but you'll get sort of feedback and a review of how you're doing. Parenthood, it's sometimes more thankless in that way,
100%.
And you have to get your own inner motivation and confidence, I suppose, that what you're doing is right in the long game. But you don't see changes straight away, but you just have to hold on to the fact that you believe what you're doing is right for your family, and let that sort of play out as the years go on. And something else I'd like to say is I think the first 3 years are crucial, and that's been proven. But I also think at any point, if someone wanted to take a step back from paid work and be at home, I think there are huge benefits. Like even teenagers, I can see already that yes, they're not as physically dependent on you, but emotionally, I think there's a lot of support needed there. So I think it's not like, if someone's listening, they've got school age kids, or this isn't relevant because I'm past that. I think there's benefits at every stage of being more available, however that looks, whether you reduce your hours or you can work from home more, or you change careers so you're self-employed on your own, you have your own calendar a bit more, or whatever it is. I think there are benefits at every stage for that.
I totally agree. And I think, neither of us have teenagers. I don't know what that life looks like. Yeah. But from what I see, it's a hard life to instill certain values. There's so much outside influence that I think there's value in just being there, whatever that looks like for you and your family. But just being available, as you said.
Yeah.
As we're kind of coming up to a close, one thing that I think we haven't really touched on is privilege. And actually, as you were talking, I thought about privilege in a few different ways. There's a financial privilege. There's the privilege of having a husband that supports you. But I wonder if there's also a privilege in being somebody. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not like hating my spot, but being somebody who's quite resourced, quite has quite a high capacity to look after one child or multiple kids. And I guess the reason I'm thinking about using that word resourced is that you clearly are able to find like people and resource and communities to be able to help you, whether it's with sibling squabbles, whether it's like finding the community for something. Like you're able to do that for yourself. I think there's a lot of women out there who'd feel like, I just couldn't, like I'm just not that girl. So I think it'd be interesting to talk about privilege from those different perspectives. So like financial with your husband and like you guys having a good solid unit, and then also that you are quite a capable woman.
Sometimes depends on the day, you get me, but I think there is, and it sort of goes back to that support, which is why like with Motherhood Matter I'm so keen to connect people up, because I think if you've got other people around you, they can sort of hold you up when you're having your moments of less capacity and things are overwhelming. Then you've got people in that group. And actually why it's great to actually have friends with different age children. So you're not, if you've only got friends with babies, you're all sort of in the thick of it. Whereas what has been great about the people I've met, so on like the committee at Motherhood Matter, there's people of lots of different age children. And so actually when you meet up with them and they've got older children, one, I've enjoyed hearing the positives of teenagers, because I think there's so much negative narrative, which I think, and it is hard in a different way, but hearing people talk positive about it and the joys, not just the challenges, I think can build you up as a parent and help support you. And that's why I think it's about, if you are at home, not staying at home, like making sure you're going to these play groups, these rhyme times, these classes, and reaching out to people and getting that support. Because I think, as I said before, we're not meant to do this alone. And we'll all have different points in our lives where we have more capacity or less capacity. And it's just about standing there for each other and being that support network, being that village. I think we have to sort of put on our big girl pants and ask someone for the number and ask someone for help. And like you said about the habit, the more we do that, the more it will become natural and the more we will feel capable to do this crazy, wonderful journey that is motherhood.
And so I guess then when it comes down to like financial privilege, it's what you've spoken about previously around the government needs to kind of support families to be able to kind of make this decision, not necessarily be it being based on an individual's salary for it to happen. As we're closing, are there any final thoughts or comments for those women who are thinking, oh, I think I want to take this leap. I think I want to do this. Any advice or tips for them, or any other thoughts, musings?
I would say just try it. It's not doesn't have to be a permanent thing. If you're able and in a position to take some time out of paid employment, I don't think you'll regret it. I think you will find growth in your children and in you. And I think if you just see it as a season where you are able to be more available, more present. The thing I love about, and I touched on before, is just having that time to be led by your children. So if they want to take an hour to do a 10-minute walk, because they want to look at every flower and every bug, and
love that.
Then instead of feeling rushed, like you have to drop them off to the next thing and the next thing, or get back for this, like it allows you to slow down. It allows you to appreciate nature. It allows you to have that rest, which, as we mentioned, is so undervalued but so needed. So I think I would just encourage people to try it, because I think there's so much joy in seeing the world through a toddler's eyes, a baby's eyes, and appreciating the small things, which I think can pass you by. If we do live in a culture where busyness is like a badge of honor, and actually to stop, and it's okay to not have a completely chock-a-block diary. It's okay to have days of stillness, because those are the days where the bonding with your child, when we used to read the whole of the bookcase sometimes was like, hard work. But then it's like that those days are lovely and all too soon. I've got one at school, one at preschool, like that. The school age comes so fast, and then the time you have with them is much less. So I think just appreciating those first few years, because there is something very special about them. They are incredibly hard, but if you have that support, if you can find your village, that really helps. And that it's not forever, and paid work will always be there. But your children won't always be young. And I think there's something I read once that said, if you want your children to want to be with you when you're older, then you need to show them that you want to be with them when they're younger. And that sort of stuck with me as, that's what we all hope, right? We all want our children to want to spend time with us when they're older, and have those close relationships. So, but we can't control the future. But, if we're able to be there now when we do have a bit more control, I think I just want to, for me, it's about embracing these early years and enjoying them amidst the chaos.
Amidst all the chaos.
The joyful chaos.
The joyful chaos. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here. I really, truly love that discussion. And thank you. Just, for the honesty, for the realness, for seeing the nuance and the grey. I went back to work after my maternity leave and I struggled. I struggled to go to work, to maintain a house, to cook, to clean, to look after 2 toddlers. It was just a lot. The mental load was insane. My to-do list was so long. And I was thinking, what can I do to make my life easier? What can I do to kind of outsource the stuff I have on my to-do list? And the first thing that came to mind was food. And so I turned to HelloFresh. I went online, I picked the recipes that I wanted. The ingredients was delivered straight to my door, and I was able to cook freshly cooked meals for my family in 30 to 40 minutes with the help of my daughter. And just like that, the mental load of having to cook, which I absolutely hated at that point, had completely gone in the bin. So for all my listeners of the podcast, I'm giving you a discount for HelloFresh. So you have one less thing to think about. Go to my show notes, click on the link, and give yourself that discount of HelloFresh today. Remove that extra thing of your to-do list and make your mental load a lot lighter. Check out my show notes now.